Hello everyone. Today I am going to show you how to make sausage gravy. Now, we're going to make sausage gravy for a crowd, and generally you probably won't want to make this much unless you're going to freeze it. But we're having some company and we want to make sure that there's enough to go around. I remember growing up, sausage gravy was one of our favorites. So join me and we'll make some sausage gravy. For this recipe, you will need 2 pounds of sausage, 1 cup of flour, and somewhere between 3/4 and 1 gallon of milk. So like I say, this makes a lot. Now you can cut this recipe down. So if you wanted to make 1 package of sausage, you could use a 1/2 cup of flour and between close to a 1/2 gallon of milk. And you could cut the gravy part even down further. You could use like 2 tablespoons of flour and 3 cups of milk. Really, when it comes to measuring, putting the milk in the gravy, it all comes down to getting it to the thickness that you like. So you don't want to add too much too quick rather, because you can always thin it out. But if you have too much milk, it's really hard to thicken the gravy up and make it come out the way you want. And of course, you're going to want to add your salt and pepper or whatever types of other seasonings you would like. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my stove here. I'm going to turn it up kind of high just to get this heated up really well. And then we'll add in our 2 pounds of sausage and we'll get this to cooking. So like I was saying at the beginning of the video, we had sausage gravy quite a bit when I was growing up. But my family made sausage gravy a lot of times where they would make sausage patties, fry them up, and then make the gravy from the drippings, which is all well and good, and it does taste good, but there's nothing like having your sausage mixed in with your gravy. It brings a whole different taste to it. And that's what we are going to do today. Because, well, I have to say, everybody likes my sausage gravy. If my mom knows I'm cooking it, she'll be the first one over here probably. Which I did tell her to stop by at some point today if she wants to. And once I tell her I'm making this, I'm sure she will. So I'm curious, did you all eat sausage gravy growing up? I know a lot of times we would even have gravy made from like the bacon drippings, which is still, it's really good. But I love, love, love sausage gravy the best. And now if you go to Cracker Barrel ever, you know how they have that sawmeal gravy? Sometimes I'll make it. You just put little pieces of bacon in it. And I usually use flour and milk in it. And I think it tastes just like theirs. Now my grandma Jackson, she could make gravy taste good with just flour and water. I've never been able to master that. I'm sure she used some sort of fat in it, but she could make you up a batch of gravy that was amazing just from those few ingredients. Of course, she had 16 kids. So when you have 16 kids, I guess you learn to make things work. And how to feed a family on a dime, as they say nowadays. I have me a spatula here, and I'm just going to get in here and break this sausage up real well as it's frying. Now, my sausage, we did not put in the refrigerator earlier, a few days ago, so it's only been out for a couple of hours, so I had to cheat and throw it in the microwave for a minute or two just to finish thawing it up. That works pretty well. I sometimes will throw it in cold water, but I didn't have time to do that today because I want to get this done before everybody comes. So we're just going to continue to chop this up and let it fry up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now you can use any brand of sausage that you want, but many brands of sausage don't have enough fat in them nowadays to give you what you need to make a gravy. So if you don't have any fat in your pan once you fry up your sausage, you may want to consider adding like half a stick of butter. I buy for gravy, a lot of times I'll pick up the Great Value sausage because, well, it's a cheaper sausage and it always gives us plenty of leftover fat. And that's what we need to mix that flour with real good to give us that good sausage gravy flavor. Now we're going to serve this gravy over some fresh baked buttermilk biscuits. And if you want to know how to make those, be sure to check out that video on homemade buttermilk biscuits. All right, folks, here's where the magic begins. I am going to add in 1 cup of all-purpose flour. 1 cup. And then we're just going to take and we're going to stir that all together really well. And you're probably thinking, man, that's a lot of flour. Well, I am making a lot of gravy here. So it's not going to be too much. And unless you're feeding a bunch of people, you won't want to use this much. Trust me. But this will make an amount to feed people and probably have leftovers too. There's nothing wrong with leftovers. I like leftovers. Y'all eat leftovers? So I'm just taking my spatula at this point, stirring this all in. It just has a nice creamy texture at this point. And I'm going to let this cook for a few minutes, and then we'll start the process of adding our milk. So where do you all, I'm curious to know, if I go out somewhere and have sausage gravy for breakfast at a restaurant, believe it or not, my favorite spot is Hardee's. Now, there's not as many Hardee's as there used to be, but do y'all have Hardee's where you live? If not, or if that's not your favorite spot, tell me where you like to go out and have sausage gravy and biscuits at. Who makes the best gravy and biscuits in your opinion? I'll be interested to know your input on that. All right, we're just going to let this cook for a few minutes, and then I'll come back and we'll start adding the milk. So this has been cooking for a few minutes, and now I'm ready to start adding my milk. This is, not much less than a half of a gallon here, probably 3/4, I don't know, somewhere between 2 quarts and a half a gallon. No, 2 quarts is a half a gallon. Somewhere between 1.5 and 2 quarts is what we're going to add here now. We'll just start with this. I'm going to go ahead and just add it all in. I have my heat turned up pretty high. And immediately, I need to start stirring this. Now, we're going to add more milk. Trust me, this isn't enough for all this. But we're just going to start with this and get it started. Once it starts to thicken up a little bit, I'll start to add more in, because that amount of flour with the amount of milk I just added would create a gravy that's going to be way too thick. So the key to this is you don't want to leave it not getting stirred for very long. Always, if you have to walk away for a few seconds, it's okay. But don't let, in my opinion, 30 seconds go by without giving this a stir while it's in the process of thickening, or it will stick. Sometimes what I'll do also is just use a whisk and kind of stir it around too, just to avoid getting any lumps. There's nothing worse than lumpy gravy. My father, God love him, I'll tell you a story while I'm waiting on this. He, on Sunday mornings, loved to make us breakfast. And breakfast usually always included bacon. And I never will forget, no matter how hard he tried, and his gravy was outstanding, but you would be eating your gravy on a biscuit or whatever, and then you would bite into this cooked, floury lump. Never really said too much about it, but I'm here to tell y'all, lumps of flour in your sausage gravy or any kind of gravy is no fun. So if you're not sure about it, get your whisk out and whisk it, and that will help to not have all of those lumps in there, because nobody will appreciate that if you have a lot of lumps in your gravy. Now, the first few times you make it, you'll have some lumps. I haven't always known how to make this. And the first few times I made gravy, it was a disaster, trust me. But I do okay with it now. Let me see where this heat's turned. Let me turn this up a little bit more, because we're not getting the results I want to see just yet. Basically, what ends up needing to happen, you need to get this milk pretty much to a boil before it will start to thicken. And this is absolutely thickening now. So at this point, I'm going to add more milk. I'm going to open up a new jug of milk. Always smell it, even if it's in date, just to make sure it's okay. And I'm going to add, good bit, probably to right there. So I don't know. We've used about total, probably about 3/4 of a gallon of milk in this is what we've used in this batch of gravy. But when you're just putting it on biscuits, that goes a long, long way. So now we're just going to make sure this is turned up and incorporate this milk. And y'all, by the time this is finished, we are going to have a pot full of gravy. You wait and see. At this point, I'm going to start to season it. I'm going to use some of my pink salt here. Love this stuff. Don't worry, that's not too much, because this is a bunch. Stir that in. While we're stirring that in, I'm going to reach over here and grab a little pepper. Stir that in. Oh yeah, I'm already starting to feel some thickening. This is going to be so good, y'all. If you was here, I'd serve you some up. Sometimes what I'll do when we're getting pretty close to the end of making the gravy too, is when it's starting to thicken up really good, I'll pause my stirring and let it start to boil just a little bit, and then I'll start stirring again. And that does help it to thicken up. So keep that in mind. If you're stirring, yours isn't thickening, stop, let it start to boil. It won't take very long, and then continue stirring again. All right, y'all, we are on the finishing line here. It's really cooking away now. It's really thickened up nice. And what I'm going to do here in just a minute is I'm just going to turn this on warm, and it will continue just to slowly cook. And I'll stir it every 5 minutes or so. I'll just give it a stir. And while that's going on, I will be making up our homemade buttermilk biscuits that we will be having along with this gravy, and that you'll be able to see the next time you tune into my channel. So, if you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. please be sure to share it with your friends. That's how I know you really like it. Share it with your friends. Let them know what they are missing. Be sure to leave me a comment and click that notification bell so that you can be notified when the biscuits recipe has been uploaded. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy some great sausage gravy.